Welcome to Briefly Orbiting, a podcast about what happens when normal people come in contact with the world's biggest celebrities. I'm your host, Matt Courtois. My kids started developing their own musical taste about 2 years ago. Before, they just kind of listened to whatever we were listening to, usually on the radio. Once my daughter went to the grocery store with me, and when we parked, she said, "Dad, can we stay in the car? If we turn it off, the song keeps playing and it makes me sad." My daughter started like most preteens, in her Taylor era. Her Taylor fandom led her to Olivia, into Gracie, into Sabrina. She keeps coming back to Taylor with every new project. My son, meanwhile, developed a deep connection with Ed Sheeran. Not really his pop hits, though he does love those, but more so his plaintive ballads. In an attempt to better understand the artists that they love, we spend a lot of time listening to their albums, watching their videos, even streaming some of their self-produced documentaries. Those documentaries, usually offering an exclusive yet highly curated look into their life and process, are pretty sanded down, devoid of much conflict. But if you watch them really closely, you can get a glimpse at what life is like for the rich and famous. In the 2020 Netflix documentary, Miss Americana, Taylor Swift, while recording her Lover album, is having lunch in the studio with her producer Joel Little when she drops this little nugget.
Do you eat burritos? Do you?
Of course I eat burritos.
Some people don't.
Who doesn't eat burritos?
I didn't ever eat burritos until like 2 years ago. I just had never tried one.
That's the weirdest niche thing.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift didn't try her first burrito until she was 26 years of age. I know that clip was left in the final edit to show how mundane and down to earth she is, but something about it made me extremely sad. Of course she hasn't had a burrito in almost 3 decades. She has to sneak into her house in oversized trunks. You can't just pop down at Chipotle just to see what all the fuss is about. But then on a more somber note, in episode 2 of the 4-part Ed Sheeran documentary on Disney+, The Sum of It All, Ed processes the loss of his best friend Jamal Edwards. At one point, Ed goes to pay tribute at a mural of his friend in his neighborhood.
The mural that people go to when he passed away was actually made when he was still alive. That's how much people appreciated him. Like, it was all... people were celebrating him when he was here. I think he liked it.
This clip continues largely wordlessly, with Ed placing a bouquet of flowers and a candle under the painting to pay his respects. After lighting the candle, he steps back to admire the art, and he thinks about his friend. But then he immediately steps forward to adjust the bouquet to keep the plastic around the flowers from dipping into the flame. It's a really tender moment, and it really bummed me out. Not to see the grief wash over his face. Grief is normal, and it's an essential part of the human experience. What bummed me out is that it appears to be like 3 a.m. Likely the only time that someone of Ed Sheeran's level of fame can go without being mobbed. After sitting at the memorial and quietly weeping for his loss, Ed Sheeran turns to console himself with the only person around, his security guard, John. Both Swift and Sheeran shared these moments, one mundane, one tender, with essentially their employees. When I was the age of my kids, I probably dreamed of the freedom of pop star level fame. But looking at it through the frame of adulthood, it doesn't look like freedom at all. It looks more like a prison, and one that I've seen before. Picture it, Buckhead, December 2008. It is so close to Christmas, and I'm sitting at my desk trying not to check out when my phone rings. "How fast can you get to Charlotte?" my boss asks. "Looks like I can be there by 3. "Well, when you land, come to the theater and I'll fill you in on the situation," she says. A few hours later, I'm standing at the Regal Stonecrest. It's rainy and cold outside, so the red carpet has been moved indoors. They're building a pen for the press and one for the public. The studio marketing team is doing a walkthrough with a huge security detail. A stage with lights and microphones is being erected near the concession stand. The entire lobby is chaos. In just a few hours, Will Smith, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, is dropping in to promote his latest project, 7 Pounds, a drama about a man who sets out to change the lives of 7 people. To promote the movie, the studio took a slightly different approach than the standard New York and LA premiere. Instead, the distributor set up a Heartland tour with stops in Cleveland, St. Louis, Dallas, and now Charlotte, each one raising money and awareness for local food banks around the holidays. During the tour, Smith explained the concept to the Cleveland newspaper, The Plain Dealer. Smith said, "This is more like one of those old school music tours. Different clubs, different cities, meeting people. You get in touch with what people are feeling and thinking, and it's more personal when you can actually shake their hands." The movie is about a week away from release, and the studio is banking on big holiday box office, and maybe even the awards chatter. Smith rarely misses, so they need every detail of this event to be perfect. In addition to the studio team and security detail, most of our agency has traveled up to make sure that everything goes smoothly. They all have assigned duties, but there was one task that was still unaccounted for, and that's why I'm here. "Where do you need me?" I ask my boss. "Back at the hotel," she says. "You're on bag duty." "Bag duty?" I ask. At the previous stop of the tour, one of Smith's pieces of luggage didn't make it onto the private plane, and subsequently didn't make it to Charlotte. I'm supposed to head back to the studio and meet with Will's head of security. When everything is packed up, I'm to verify the number of bags, then tag each one with a number. I'm then to get all of the bags into a dedicated SUV, head to the airport, and personally ensure that all of the suitcases get on the flight and make it to the next city. "This was a whole thing," she said. "Don't mess this up." "I'm on it," I say. I locate the driver and we make our way to the Ritz-Carlton. I pick up my printed luggage tags from the front desk, a baggage cart from the bellhop, and then I head up to Smith's suite to meet with his security. I text him when I arrive, and the security guard emerges from an adjoining room right next to the suite. "You're early. That's good," he says. "We're still getting everything together, so stay right here. When I roll out the cart, we'll need to move pretty quickly." "Understood," I reply. "I'll be right here when you need me." He rolls the cart into his adjoining room, and I see him push it through the interior door into the suite. As the door closes, I hear the unmistakable laugh of Will Smith. For the next 90 minutes, I'm just standing there. I check my email and realize that most of the office is at the theater down the street, and most of our clients have shifted into holiday mode, so there's nothing pressing to respond to. Through the door of the suite, I'll hear a laugh or a muffled phrase every once in a while. It takes me a minute before I realize that he must be on the phone, because I'm only hearing one side of the conversation, and it's all Will. I open my press day itinerary to see when they're expected to depart for the theater, and then I flip back a page to see their press schedule. It dawns on me that he's been in this room, presumably alone, for hours before I got there. Of course he has. When you're Will Smith, you can't just pop over to the mall or go for a walk in the park. That would quickly devolve into pandemonium. You have to exile yourself, albeit in a palatial suite, but you have to wait to be whisked to the next thing you're supposed to do. It continues like this for another 30 minutes, and I start to get nervous that they might be late for the event, as their departure time is rapidly approaching. The conversation is still going on inside the room, and occasionally I make out a random word. And then, clear as day, I overhear Smith say, "Look, I told him if you want cake, eat the cake. Don't eat anything else that day. Just cake. That's what I do. Just cake, and then I don't want any more." Suddenly, the suite door flies open, and it's Will's security guard. "We're all set," he says. "We have 17 bags total. I went ahead and tagged them. Can you count and make sure they're all here?" I quickly tally them all. "All accounted for," I say. "Great. They're all yours. The pilot is expecting you," he says. "I'm on my way," I reply, and I start to roll the cart toward the elevator bank. On the way down, it hits me that I've worked a ton of events in my life, and I've met a lot of celebrities, but this is a first. I've just spent the last 2 hours inches away from one of the biggest stars in the world, separated by just a little wooden drywall, and I've never even caught a glimpse of him. I'm not gonna lie, kind of bummed me out. I reach the lobby, and I can sense them before I see them. A throng of fans are waiting in the lobby just to catch a glimpse of the Fresh Prince. And there's a brief second where they all inhale, thinking that he's about to emerge, but then they exhale disappointedly when they see that it's just me in my cart. As I'm approaching the fans, the elevator next to me dings. The door opens, and there he is. Agent J, Hitch, Mike Lowrey. We lock eyes, and I see him glance down knowingly like, hey, those are my bags. Then he looks back at me, and I give him a little head nod. And he nods back. This must be what Martin Lawrence feels like, I think. He quickly works the crowd, and I roll along the outside to the waiting car and head to the airport.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
On March 22nd, 2022, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock on stage at the Oscars, my mind went right back to that night in Charlotte. Most of the world was shocked, but I wasn't. That level of bottled rage is clearly someone who's never had to deal with an annoying coworker that drives them crazy 5 days a week, or a neighbor that insists on weed eating at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. That level of Will Smith fandom traps them in a bubble. And what do bubbles do? They burst. I've never experienced that level of fame, but I've been close enough to know that it's not for me. Although, I did try just eating cake one day, and only cake, for a whole day. It was too much sugar, and it made me sick. Briefly Orbiting is written, produced, edited, and hosted by me, Matt Courtois. Briefly Orbiting is recorded in beautiful Marietta, Georgia, the small town with the biggest heart. Follow Briefly Orbiting on Instagram, YouTube, Substack, and Letterboxd at Briefly Orbiting. Do you have a good celebrity story that you think might make a good episode? Email me at brieflyorbiting@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember, the world is a better place when you just let people be who they want to be.